I'm going to demonstrate today how to resolve the issue with the leaking inside hole in our TREX 700 fuel tank. In this case, I'm using this as a gasser, and so I just plug this off. And if you're, for some reason, the black plastic stopper that comes with this tank for the inside doesn't really hold up to gasoline, as well as the outside plug. You know, this plug here that goes on the outside. For some reason, this rubber holds up just fine to gasoline and doesn't break down. The supplied plug that goes with this does break down, and so you can't really use it for a gasser. And so the other issue we have is that these tanks tend to come with out of round holes here, which also causes it to leak because, you know, you've got, since it's an oval, you know, that thing doesn't expand evenly all the way around. And so what we're going to do is use a Dubro fuel tank plug here. And for nitro, if you want to seal this off, you can just use the supplied black. But for gassers, we're going to have to use this brown one. So you want to make sure you get a brown plug. And what I've done is I've just put a little bit of silicone RTV inside these holes to seal them off. And you don't want to fill the holes all the way up, because when this compresses, it would squeeze it all out. So, and then I'm going to make sure that I off-center the holes. Again, I'm using this just as a plug, so I'm going to make sure that these holes don't line up with the holes in the cap on either end to make sure everything compresses and seals off and we don't have any leaks. So let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and put that like that, and then take this one like that. Put the screw in here. Now, let's get this ready. Now I had to prepare the tank, and the hole is simply way too small here for this rigid black inside piece to fit through. So we have to make sure that we accommodate for our least common denominator here, which is the black plate. And so what I did was I put this black plate, I laid it up here, and then I took a Sharpie and I traced around it. And then I took a Dremel side cutter and I just reamed that out to get it to the right size. So now that I have it the right size, I've got my plug built. I'm going to stick my plug in and go ahead and tighten it down. And I can see that it's starting to cave in here. And that looks about right. And it's pretty solid. So I shouldn't get any leaks with that. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it a little more just to make absolutely sure. Then I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in here. Now with the fuel tank reassembled, we've got to put this back in the helicopter. Getting the fuel tank reinstalled with the helicopter already pre-assembled can be somewhat tricky. So I'm going to show you a trick that I've learned. Just make sure that both of your rubber pieces are in, and then go ahead and spray down your tank with some silicone spray just to get it good and lubed up, so that it'll slide through and it'll lubricate these rubber pieces as we go. Now, one thing that we're going to want to do is you're going to have to pull this out a little bit, because it simply will not go in you know, with it installed. So we want to have as much of it on there as we can, but some of it's going to have to be off, because we're going to have to be able to compress this tank and be able to get it through here. And the trickiest part is going to be to get it through where we've installed this massive plug, because the frames and the tank and everything weren't originally designed for this in mind. So now we're at this part and we're just going to push it, and you may wind up having to heat this tank up just a little bit, heat it up so that it's a little bit more flexible. But I'm going to use a screwdriver here and compress this down and get it to go on through just like that. And once you get, now we're at the screw, and so you know, now we've got a problem here as well. So try to get some leverage on the frame, get leverage on something. Try to get where you can get this pushed in here as best as you can. Push. There we go. Go ahead and push that on through. And line it up on the other side. Get that pushed through. There. Okay, so now that's seated on the other side. And now I'm going to take my screwdriver and I'm just going to work this in almost like working in a bicycle, you know, tire onto a rim. I'm just going to take it and do like this and work that through and just work that piece of rubber nice and slowly all the way in until I get it in and get it nice and flush the way it's supposed to be installed. Now, just like with a bicycle tire, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, and you may have to circle around and kind of do a little here and a little there and work your way in. But you know, I've gotten my liner in here now, and so go ahead and clean it up and then reinstall your tubing, and that's all there is to it. So if you're running a gasser or you just want to plug in that inside hole and you've been having some issues with leaking, this is certainly I wouldn't say the easiest method, but it's definitely doable, and I think I've done a pretty good job of demonstrating that.